Okay, the first thing we have on the agenda is to accept our minutes. I had a question under correspondence. It started out with in the middle of the sentence. Page 4.
Oh, this is my agenda.
I have them, but
Do you want to, here, look at mine.
Yeah, I read them, but I didn't print them out.
Here. This is
I read
what,
them twice and I
Wasn't
didn't see
sure what that
anything
was.
needed to be changed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean.
yeah. All right, it's just, the director followed up a visit. I can fix that.
Is your microphone on?
No.
Thanks.
The director, just the words "the director" got left out somehow,
oh, okay.
and that's all. But I can fix that. So that is, I know what,
We should talk about.
It just needs to say the director follow up.
Oh, yeah.
was there something else?
No, it's just showing Rick.
Oh,
Any other comments about the minutes?
They
From
look
anyone?
good when I read them.
I'm sorry?
They look good when I read them.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Any
here we
comments
are.
about the minutes?
Okay. I move that we accept the minutes with the correction of the correspondence
Yep.
sentence.
We're both public and non-public, so it's covering both.
This is
So this is
just,
just public.
public.
Are we only doing the motion for public first?
yes.
Okay.
This is
Wasn't
for-
sure if we were
just
gonna do it
this
as
is for
one.
the public.
I'll second then.
Okay, so the minutes are accepted?
We all have to vote. don't
Oh, we have to
With
vote.
correction.
Oh,
Action.
sorry, jeez. All in favor? I'm just moving ahead, you know?
Yeah,
You
miss.
guys are slow. Okay, then we have our non-public minutes. Any questions about that?
Nope.
No?
Motion to approve.
I can
See them.
Okay, all in favor? All right, minutes are accepted, public and non-public. Committee updates, Rick, Friends?
Well, we actually have a member of the Friends here today.
We do, but we're gonna get to
So-
that after we go through
Yeah.
we're just gonna get an update, and then Danielle is going to appraise us of the, we'll do the Friends last, how's that?
Yeah. why don't
Maybe
we-
that would be the easiest
Yeah.
approach.
Why don't we do that?
Development Fund had a meeting at the end of January with the chair and treasurer of the Development Fund, the Friends, and the trustees.
That's a different meeting.
Okay,
The
which
development
one
one
is
didn't
this?
have a meeting.
right, they're waiting to hear
That-
from us.
That's a update for the joint meeting
Oh.
under other business, that's different.
Okay, so I apologize, I misspoke. There was no meeting. We are going to have another meeting, though, a joint meeting,
So where are
a joint,
The joint meeting is tomorrow, but I don't know when the development fund
Here,
is going
Oh,
to
okay.
schedule.
All right.
for
Okay.
itself,
But
you
that
meant.
would be
Yeah,
the-
okay, gotcha. Okay.
Helps if I start at the beginning.
The Library Building Development and Marketing Committee is on hiatus. The Town Center Committee, Karen?
Yeah, we just met, last Friday. And we haven't met in a while, since November. November or December, I forget which. But it's been a couple of months, so we've, basically looked at the various applications for the walking paths and to finish the Sauhegan River Trail, the Woodbury Street sidewalks. All of these things take a very long time. And the DPW says that the finishing the Sauhegan River Trail is still in the hands of the state. And the state says that they're putting the finishing touches on, out to bid. So we think that that's gonna happen, and that's the walking trail over by Watson Park. Gonna pull all that in. We're still trying to get money to finish that. Woodbury Street sidewalks, which are really important because the high school kids use that when they're dismissed. And they just walk in the middle of the road. It's pretty exciting. But that money needs to be reapplied for, and that is in the process of happening. Let's see, they're gonna be, the town center committee is going to be at the Winter Carnival this weekend, the 23rd, I believe it is. And the O'Gara Drive sidewalks, again, walking and making things easier to get around in the center, are going to be connected with the new SAU building that is being developed from Brentwood, or they're gonna build one over by the tennis courts. They haven't decided what they're gonna do yet. But the sidewalks down O'Gara Drive are going to come in at that same time, which is also when they're going to widen the Everett Turnpike. So everything's going to be done pretty much together in 2021. So it's going to be 2020 and 2021, and so this year, nothing's going to happen with that, so. And that's what I know right now.
Okay, thank you. And the Friends met the end of January, and at that,
I'm agreeing with you, go ahead.
and at that time, the funds that typically would come from the book sale to the trustees was transferred over exclusively to the Friends, and Danielle from the Friends is here to talk about that, along with Janet. They're the ones who handle the transactions. So I will turn it over to you, Danielle, to explain what's going on there.
Sure.
Make sure the mic's on, it doesn't look like it's on.
So the little green light will be, it'll be actually be lit up. There you
Yeah, now
go.
it's on.
Okay. So I'm Danielle Muskowitz, and I'm the treasurer of the Friends. The Friends organization recently picked up the book sale. And so by running the book sale, all the revenue is now coming into the Friends of the Merrimack Public Library.
Can we just say that previously it was split between the trustees and the Friends, and now all of it will be going to the Friends?
Well, so in the past, the way that it was managed was the Friends would, and other volunteers, would help run the book sales. And the June book sale, the proceeds, the net proceeds, half would be split between the Friends and the trustees. And then the rest of the funds, I'm not sure, during the September book sale and the January book sale, I believe all those funds were trustees.
There was
So,
one that we used to split with the development fund at one point too.
Not anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
at
not
one
for-
point, I see.
yeah, like years ago,
Yeah.
though, right?
Yeah, we haven't done that in a while.
So we looked at and discussed as a group that several other Friends in throughout the state do the book sales. So it was discussed that the Friends would run the book sales, and from a volunteer standpoint, but also as taking in the revenue. And so the January book sale was the first one that we did. And as a treasurer, I'm just trying to understand that now that we have the revenue, what type of expenses were typically handled by the trustees to use these funds. So that, we're not necessarily looking to eliminate those expenses, or, I'm not sure how they would be covered. So it's just trying to understand what makes sense from a Friends group to support that, and then, should we be discussing, a portion of the proceeds being donated to the library for expenses. And so, that's what I'd like to understand. our gross profit from the January book sale was $3,121.75. So it was a great book sale. So I'd just like to know how we should use that funds
Okay,
and basically account for it. Our operating is on a calendar year, so we run January to December. And I understand that the library runs on a fiscal year. And so, again, that's like a July 1st to June 30th.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that I understand what kind of expenses I should reserve for, and also if that makes sense to continue in that fashion, or if we need to change procedures.
okay. Janet, would you be able to address that?
Partly, but yes, there are, having gone through what I have in QuickBooks for the last year and a half, there are multiple areas where the Friends in general contribute, just whether the library asks for it or the Friends will say, or I think the Friends say, we want to donate for like the children's room summer reading. But in general, there are definitely areas that I don't think are appropriate for Friends money to support, but other areas where they could, hospitality programs, decor, those supplies, those are definitely areas where money comes out of special, that the money from the book sale would have bought items or supported the programs or the professional services that we use.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Do you want dollar amounts?
Do you have like a ballpark of, maybe like annual expenses? I guess I'm just trying to understand too that there's a book sale in June, there's a book sale also in September. So, not knowing what that might be for proceeds, I was just wondering what kind of, should we reserve this money for, or does it change every year?
Well, when I did, so I have a 6-month and a year, and within the 6 months, that was non-DCU money, non-friend money, or grant money. It was about 8,000 would have been extra money out of special last fiscal year 17-18.
Okay.
And then, but this year so far, the 18-19, we're at 2,500? No, 3,000. But that's a half a year.
Right.
So there's, it just depends what the library is deciding to buy, as well as what activities, like there was the 125 was last year, so there were additional, just more going on.
Okay. Okay. So, what would hospitality be? Just as a...
Hospitality is, actually that's kind of interesting. It's kind of being morphed into something else. Where it started is moving into something else. Hospitality tends to be food during programs, or food, actually that's pretty much where it is.
Okay.
Well, there used to be hospitality for patrons, but it really didn't work that way. It really just went into food during programs.
Okay.
So, but then, if it is, it's kind of confusing, because then food during programs then tends to come out of programs. So that's why hospitality is weird. That's why it's morphing into more, because there really isn't, there used to be, or what we look at was hospitality, seeing it going towards patrons, and hospitality going towards programs. But we're not really seeing that anymore. We're seeing more just hospitality in programs, which goes out of programs.
Okay.
So,
So is that something that you think going forward we would need to cover as part of the book sale? Or do you think that that's stuff that is already, would that be,
I would think that whether it's hospitality or within programs, all of that would definitely be something that would need to be covered.
okay.
Did we cover programs themselves, the cost of the program?
Most of the programs are covered through DCU.
Well, okay. So the municipal budget, the town budget, has a program line. So that will pay for speakers, food. I mean, the thing about food is it's a way to attract patrons, especially teens. Or if it's an evening program, we have an author speaking, we want to have cheese and crackers or something like that. I know over the last year and maybe 2 years, we had a series called Armchair Travel that had a lot of food, you know, because that was really, you know, more of a program about different cultures or someone traveling to a different country or from a different country. And one of the easy ways to kind of connect with another culture is through food. And that was a little more expensive. So, you know, I think how we think about it in the library for the staff, we think about spend the municipal budget first, the fines and special funds, or what was previously, you know, under the trustees, or even Friends money, is all unanticipated funds. And it's extra as far as we're thinking. So if we're thinking, oh, here's an opportunity to do something different, then we're gonna go out and ask the Friends for funds or the trustees for funds or something like that. And then DCU is a whole different, another different unanticipated pot of money that was mostly spent on the anniversary programs, and we did have a party with food, you know. Hey, you know, that's kind of, you know, we did game nights. That was pizza, you know, for a long time, and that was pretty successful when we were serving pizza. So it's just how we, you know, eat a lot at the library. It sounds funny. But yeah, but how we
It
rank
brings
it,
people in.
it does bring
It
people in.
does.
But how we rank it is municipal, and then anything else is extra. And I think some of the, as far as my memory is, you know, some of the programs have morphed a little bit. Maybe, you know, I'm thinking of something different. But, you know, we used to have a holiday tea, which was a couple of hours in an evening, and it was, you know, it grew very large, and it was very burdensome, I think, to the staff. And I don't think there was any cost involved in that. It was all, you know, donated cookies or, you know, appetizers, and then tea in teacups. And that was a lot of burden in terms of preparing and running the program. It's a big burden on the staff. So we morphed that into Tasty Tidings, which is very scaled back. And I think the expenditures are more like the coffee and cocoa and what have you, and the cookies are again donated. So, I think it just always goes back to me as unanticipated funds. So it's more, can we try this? You know, because we're not you know, there's no way to guarantee that there are going to be funds. So if there are funds, it's let's try this. If
Does
makes
that
any
help,
sense.
Danielle?
It does. I think I only have one other question in terms of the professional services that you also mentioned. Is
Yep.
there, could you elaborate a little bit
I
further
can.
on what
Well,
that?
like this year, we haven't used it for that
Okay.
line. We haven't done anything. But last year, the banners that are on, or the flags, or
Okay,
those that are on the
the
east
building?
and west side of the buildings,
sure.
those went under professional
Okay.
services. So they're not. They tend to be a one-time
Okay.
What about
expense.
The handouts for the 4th of July, doesn't that come out of that?
You mean the giveaways?
Yeah, the giveaways for the 4th of July, I think.
But that's still under. Well, that ends up being under programs for summer programs.
Okay, yeah. I kind of think of that as its own thing, though.
Summer
Yeah.
reading.
So there's, in terms of the expenses that we're talking about, there's nothing that's kind of fixed, that
There's nothing.
it's just, it's more upon what we make from the book sale, then we can start discussing this additional
Yep.
things.
As Yvette
not-
said, it's unanticipated money.
Mhm.
So even the trust fund money that we get, we could get $1,000 up to $5,000 or more.
Okay.
Even DCU, which is unanticipated, has grown. So we don't know.
Okay, okay. All right, well, yeah, I think these type of things, at least I understand how it was being managed. I can bring back to our board, and then we can continue to discuss, how we handle it, the requests. I think the big thing would probably just be that we discuss maybe a request process or a budgeting process with the library, and knowing that we have the funds here, what do they think, they'd like to do with it, or what ways can we help support using it, and knowing that we can approve properly between our board and go forward. If that makes sense.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you have any more questions?
No, I think that's it.
You're good? Okay. Janet, do you want anything more to say?
No, I figured this was an introduction, and then as we go forward, more things will get ironed out.
Okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Daniel, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Just to remind folks that Friends are always looking for members. They are the fundraising arm of the library. They are a separate organization, however, from the library, nonprofit. Thank you. Okay, yes?
So, in the agenda for committee updates,
Mhm.
the Friends, we put off to the new business where it said book sale update and Danielle.
Well, I didn't want her to sit.
Right, right. Then the development fund, did we say anything about that?
We had a joint
No,
board meeting, but we didn't,
They haven't met.
they haven't met, but we had a,
Different. That's different.
that's different.
Okay, haven't met. All right, we went out of order and I didn't get. Okay, and then the Building and Development Committee is still on hiatus. The Town Center Committee, I reported, and the Turkey Shoot Committee is on hiatus. And then we jumped ahead to the book sale, which was fine. And then, okay, I'm good now.
Question about the Turkey Shoot Committee, because technically that's now a Friends event as well. So should we continue that committee?
Oh, that's a very good question. Probably could take it off our agenda.
Yeah.
Well, do they know that they're taking over the Turkey Shoot?
Well, they
Did-
always have.
Yeah, they
It's been
have,
their
Yeah.
event.
they've-
Yeah,
It's their event.
yeah, because they get the money from it as well, like, same as now the book sale, but.
Yeah, the money from the turkey shoot goes to the Friends.
Something to think about.
So we probably don't need it on ours. I think put it back on in the fall to remind folks that we're having our turkey shoot
Yeah.
event coming up. Yeah, okay. So the next item on the list is the Personnel Committee. And one of the things that's going on there is a change in the, a potential change in the evaluation that we use for the director. Yvette, do you think we should put that off for a little bit later? Or do that now?
I have no preference. I don't,
Okay,
I mean, it's your.
okay. So then I'll go into it now. I don't want to take too much time with this. Everybody on the board is appraised of the process that we've gone through. But what I did want to do is, what we need to do is decide if we want to use the new format or we want to use the format we used last year. I did not make a copy of the old format, but I can pass one around just to remind you what we used last year. And,
Did you just hand out?
Just to
The
you,
new
I
or the-
emailed it.
Oh, okay.
Emailed it to
All right.
everyone else.
Thanks. Sorry.
I think I
what are you
Sorry, I didn't
asking
mean to
for?
interrupt you. She had handed me a paper earlier, and I didn't realize that everyone else had it online or in their email.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all.
not printed out, but.
Okay. This one here is the form we used last year. And the scale is met, not met, basically under each of the categories. If you want to take a look at it, I'll pass it around just to refresh your memory as to what it looks like, okay?
I actually have that.
You have that?
That one I have. Thank you.
Okay. Do you know what we're speaking of, this one? Okay, so that's what we used last year. We can use that, or we can use the same evaluation, only change the scale, which is what was brought up, to the not observed, never, seldom, sometimes, most of the time, always.
Kind of like a 1 to 5, but with words.
So, yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of like that. They can be given a numerical rating
Okay.
as well. And that's what this would look like. I'll just pass that around so you can see what that would look like.
This is the one you emailed out, right? Or is this different?
No,
Yes.
Oh, yes?
It was
well,
Yes.
Janet
I
may
will.
have.
Yes.
She
You
did.
emailed
Oh,
it out.
Yes.
I was
yeah.
gonna say, somebody emailed it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mail that one,
No,
Janet
no.
did, yes.
Okay.
So that, it's the same thing, only the scale is different. There's no other difference in them,
Oh, okay.
except, I take that back.
Well, in that one, yeah,
The back.
it would have the same, it would be the exact
Questions
same.
would be the same, yeah, the questions would be the same. The only thing we were looking at adding this year would be a feedback questionnaire that we would give to the department heads to use as a feedback on their experience at the library and working with the director. So I have a copy of that. Everyone has,
And that's the one you emailed out.
this is the one
Right.
I sent out. And this basically, we've gone through, this has been through several drafts. And,
Excuse me.
This is what the end result is of it.
It looks nice, Janet.
There are they're not on this one, but the questions that were at the end of the evaluation last year, those are not going away. The one where the goals are discussed and the projects and that, those are still staying, but they're not on this one, not on this form.
Oh, wait, you brought up two things. One, on the evaluation, do we want to move to the observed, never, seldom, that scale, or do we want to stay with the met, not met?
So there's two pieces of paper. So the performance evaluation, the only thing that really changed on that was the scale, and that's what you're speaking of. The old one was the met, not met. The new one would be the not observed, never, seldom, et cetera scale. So we do need to decide that. And then yes.
Which piece of paper are we going to put those goals questions that were on the evaluation form last year?
The job performance one.
The job performance
Yes.
one? Okay.
They stay. They're
But
not,
they're, but they're not on this one? that-
I didn't print those out, but
Right.
those don't go away.
Okay.
The only thing from the job performance evaluation that would change is the scale.
Right, okay.
Everything else is, all the questions are gonna stay the same, the feedback at the end, the questions, the goals, the whatever, all of those will stay the same.
Okay.
Just the scale.
Okay.
So, do we wanna
So we
change the
need to
scale?
decide, does anybody have any comments about the scale that we use?
So the scale is.
I have a question. Can I see a copy of this form?
I give it to you, I passed it
no.
over.
I do not have it.
I'm sorry.
I have the
what?
one for department heads, but I don't have one that you're talking about.
This one?
Those are the same questions that we
It's
asked
the
last
same
year,
exact
though,
thing.
right?
Yeah,
Except
that
that
it
it-
hasn't changed.
That's,
No.
that's fine. I just don't
Yeah.
know what, I don't have it in
This-
front of me, and I would
Yeah,
like to
that's
see what you're
fine.
talking
Yeah,
about.
that's
Supposed to be
fine.
in this kind of
Right,
categorizing.
it's these questions
Okay.
with either met or not met, or
That.
this.
Okay.
It depends on what we
Right.
prefer.
From what I've learned about developing this instrument, it might be, I think the not observed, never, seldom, sometimes, most of the time, and always, which is really 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, being able to give a numerical value, excuse me, to the forms, to the questions, or to the categories, I think is helpful.
Well, yeah, what you can do is you can.
Where the met and not met is either 0 or 1, and
Yeah,
that's it.
This, you can give a 1 to 5, and you can collate them all and come up with a sort of number at the end. One way
And
to
that's,
approach it.
that's the reason that I mean, it's not written in stone, but I think I would like to try the larger number of choices,
Or-
just
okay.
for the numerical.
So right now, we're talking about the performance evaluation, not the feedback questionnaire.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments about the use of this type of scale on the performance?
And I can be, you know, I mean, I'm not in love with it, that's just what I've thought of on first thoughts.
Mhm.
But if anybody has a good reason why they think the other way should stay the same, or it should,
That's not the right form.
Yeah, I'm already marking it up
Yeah,
because,
it's done.
okay. Can I just
Didn't I
give you,
give her the right one?
can I just give you some background, just so you have some context as the board? When I was hired, when I was hired, every staff, everyone, all the employees had a form where it was ranked. It wasn't met, not met. We had a different form.
okay.
And the staff, supervisors, and trustees, because they used that tool for me, found that confusing. So they went to yes, no, which is met, not met.
Mhm.
Just, did you do it, did you not do it? Did you reach this task that you were supposed to do or no? Because if you're looking at it as a task-oriented tool, your job description says you're gonna do X, Y, Z. Did you do X, Y, Z? Then when you have a rank, it's like, that was where the confusion was, because you either do it or you don't do it. You can't maybe do it. You know, so that was the problem that they dealt with. The staff also found it a very confusing tool. So when I brought that question to the trustees, they said, well, let's change it because we find it confusing too. So just kind of giving you a little background as you move forward. You can use whatever form you want, but I'm just trying to explain why we have done this tool before. It was confusing because it was hard to rank. If it's a, I did it, I didn't do it. You know, does this person, whatever, I can't even, identifies annual goals. Either I'm gonna do it or not do it. I'm not gonna do it. I mean, it's either it's done or not done, so that's one thing I would just suggest, that you kind of look at it, because if you find that it's, because the tasks are the job description is task oriented, it might be a little hard to
I was gonna say,
rank
at one
things.
point, when we did your review, didn't we have,
You did.
right? And if I remember right, the board had trouble filling it out.
It was
because
hard. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly like you're
I
saying.
know, that's what I'm
We were
saying.
like, well, you
So-
either did it or you didn't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So, but the other thing is, as far as I'm seeing, I don't have a way to self-evaluate, which is that important. As a manager, I think it's important for my staff, when I'm evaluating them, for them to self-evaluate. Generally when you have an evaluation, and I don't know how much you know, so I'll just tell you from my own experience and from my learning, when you have an evaluation with your staff, there should be no surprises. Because you're constantly working with your staff, you're talking about things, they're bringing you questions or whatever it is. And so when you finally sit down to an evaluation, it's kind of like it's a big check-in, and they have something they want to say about their goals and their accomplishments and whatever else is in the job description that they've set out to do working at the library. So I think, I don't think it's a good suggestion to eliminate that. For me, I mean, I'm still an employee, and however the board decides to evaluate me in terms of whichever tool, that's the model that I take back to the library, and it's like, well, now this is the thing everyone uses. So I don't think it makes sense for the director to have one kind of tool and for the rest of the staff to have another kind of tool. It's always been, as far as the other boards that I've worked under here, it's been, here's the tool, and then disseminate it down to the rest of the staff. Those are my 2 cents.
And you did you brought, my memory back, that
Yeah.
we did do it as a gradual 1 to 5 or met, not, observed, kind of similar to this.
It was ranked excellent.
Yeah, I forgot the
kind of
wording, but it
excellent,
was.
good, not, almost good,
Something like
and like
that.
poor. No, but it was really, and then it was shortened, because I remember I was using this for one staff, and they didn't like when I put D, which was basically a not met or a failure, and they were saying, well, can't we just change it, because I'm gonna try really hard. And I said, no. This is a evaluation of this moment, and we'll write a note down here, you're gonna try hard, that's fine. And next year, it's gonna be, hopefully, up here. But it was this range that people were in disagreement about.
Yeah.
And it was staff and supervisor in disagreement about where they fell. It was much more complicated, because
Yeah.
it's total interpretation.
that's
That's why
what
it went
was. The
to, did
prior
you do it,
board-
did you not do it? There's less argument.
Yeah, the prior board had trouble
It was hard.
scaling.
This is not on the one that, this one. And this is gonna be on that one. These are the questions, they left them off that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a draft. It's
I'll
not,
just
a-
not
it's
look.
not a
I'm
finished
just gonna put them
product.
aside.
It's not a finished product.
That's fine.
Okay, so,
So what I'm hearing is we want to stick to the met, not met scale for the job
I
performance,
I
for the performance evaluation.
say met, not met. That's my
Well,
opinion,
one,
but-
That's
I
what I'm
could
hearing.
suggest, why don't I suggest, once you figure out what the final of the new one is gonna be, you could do 2. And then you're experiencing which one's easier to use. Which one communicates what you wanna communicate to me, because that's really the only way you're gonna know is to live through it.
You're talking about this
I'm
one.
saying,
Do both.
do
Do
both
both.
forms,
Yeah,
With the new scale, you're saying?
whatever.
Yes.
The old,
Yeah,
met, not met.
One
and
fill
then
it
the-
out.
Same
And
fill it out with
scale
both
and
scales.
different
just the
square,
met, not
okay.
met, and then try to fill it out with this and see.
Sure, because even when we're using, the department heads are using the 360 for peer, for peer evaluations. And we're finding, oh, it's great in theory, and it's great when you look at it and you rewrite it and you imagine, but when you actually sit down to do it, and then they're saying, this is really unclear. This question, I don't get it, and I'm not sure I don't know what this question means for me as the peer. So then we're changing it. So, everyone still wants to evaluate their peers, and they want to be evaluated by their peers, but it's just, it has to be tweaked, improved, and I think with each time we do it in this year cycle for the department heads, it'll improve.
I'm a little confused.
There's nothing to be confused. We're gonna do 2 forms. They're
Same
gonna be the
questions.
same
This one.
exact question.
You're just gonna use both scales?
Yes.
Same
And so
questions, both scales.
It's not, don't stress, it's not hard. You can either do met or not met, or you do the scale and see how it works out. And then when we come together back with the board, it'll be like, what'd you think? And
Right.
it may be that we all were like, you know what, in the end, met, not met worked better.
Sure.
Right.
And,
Or, you know what, I really could rank her better. It doesn't matter, but at least you'll have the opportunity to compare.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, let's just try it, because then if you're in the middle of trying it, you're going, oh, I wish I had that other form. You won't get stuck that way.
So,
All right, we can do
and all the
that.
questions will be the same, all the questions in the back will be the same, everything will be the same, except the 2 scales.
Okay.
Okay.
So can we fit the 2 scales on one, or we're just gonna hand out 2 separate ones and
Just
just?
2
Just 2 separate
pages.
ones.
Yeah,
Two
Because they
papers.
won't fit on the
Yeah,
same
it's
page.
too much, okay.
So this is just being devil's advocate here for a moment. If I use the scale of not observed, for me, there's going to be a lot of things on this form that I have not actually observed.
Yes.
I may have had it reported to me in paperwork. I may have seen it just because I happened to be in the library that day. So it will be interesting to see what happens, because that would be unfair if you didn't see it to use that as a criteria.
Right.
Right.
So it'd be nice to see both sides.
All right,
Because
so
some
that's
places
how-
it's going to work and some places it's
Right,
not going
exactly.
to work.
Yeah.
So I will finalize that.
Yes, you will. You will. I won't.
Thank
So
you.
the performance evaluation, this one we will use 2 scales. The
Well-
trustees will.
Okay.
Is that what I'm hearing, right? Okay. Then we have the feedback questionnaire, which would go to department heads to respond to. We used the not observed, never scale on that one. So we need to decide if we want to use this tool.
It's right in front of me.
For you to tell us how you want us to handle it in the distribution, of course, but our first decision is, do we want to use this tool this year?
This is the one for the
This is the
staff,
feedback
department heads?
questionnaire for the department heads, yes. It's like the 360.
I love that idea.
I'm calling it a
Yeah,
feedback
I personally
questionnaire.
love it.
So, do I hear any comments from anyone about this? You've all seen it.
love it.
Do you
I
have a
like
copy
it.
of
My comment.
You have this?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So I guess I would echo, though, that as I was going through it, one of the things I thought was, we'll see.
What?
As I was reading it, I had questions and I had changes and edits, but at the end of it all, I thought, we'll see how this works, because I'm not sure it's going to give us the information we want. So I guess what I was thinking was we use it once and then we see what happens. Because
I
I
agree.
think sometimes the statements could be subjective or interpreted to different people. But the only way we're going to know is if we try it out.
Any other comments?
So I'll give you a tip, because again, we've done the 360 form with department heads, and you may have heard this from Jen and Joanne when you met with Jen and Joanne. I don't remember who met with Jen.
Me.
You? Okay. So you have what are there, 5 department heads. So 5 department heads, you have 5 versions, and you get a blank form and you tally them up.
Yeah, it
So
would be
it's-
scaled.
Right.
Right,
It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, and we
Blind.
combined, right,
for me,
yes,
so that they can be free to say
Yes.
whatever they want.
Yes.
But you know,
yes,
whoever's telling it knows, and I don't see those.
right,
Yeah, that's the same
Yeah.
as when we do our evaluation,
Yeah.
we total them up and
yeah.
have it come as the board instead of any one individual.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I personally, I don't find that helpful, because I like to know context. It's helpful, that's just me, how I operate, but
Mhm.
that's how we used it. It was blind,
Yes.
and
That's what they suggest too on everything
know,
you read,
but-
so. I mean,
How much time do you want us to allow the department heads?
2 weeks.
Okay, that's what I thought, I figured about.
I was printing out when I had to make a blank for Laura of my last year, you wanted the form blank. Last year I was evaluated on March 18. So, you want to think of your lead time. It has to be, before the 9th?
Well, I wanted to consult with you on how you wanted us to
February.
actually
No,
distribute it.
it has to be between the 2 meetings.
I know, but how you wanted us
February
to
19th
distribute
right
it
now?
to them. How you wanted us to
If
go
you
about
went
that.
through Joanne, Jen,
Mhm.
send it to them,
Okay,
and then they'll take care of it.
okay,
I won't know anything about it.
okay. All right, thank you.
But send electronic in case they need
Oh, I'm
to
sorry.
type big,
yeah, it's
Um,
gonna come from, to Jen and Joanne, Jen Green and
touch you
Joanne.
up.
Why don't you send it to Jen Green, because
Okay,
she's
just send it.
acting.
Okay.
That's a better chain of command.
Send to Jen Green.
I'm
Then
still
give
not
her
clear, we
dates.
haven't voted to accept using this form. Do we have
Which
to vote?
which
The
form
the
are we
one
talking
we
about?
Feedback, the feedback,
From the department heads.
yes. The feedback questionnaire goes to the department heads. I want to be sure everyone, I want to vote
Okay.
that everyone agrees that we're going to use this if you would like to use it.
Are you making the motion?
I'll make a motion to use this feedback form this year
To distribute to the
distribute to the department heads to evaluate Yvette.
I second. Any discussion about any of this?
Just that it's clear that it's this year.
Yes, this year. All in favor? Thank you. And we've decided we're going to use both scales to test those out, so.
Not this one.
No,
No,
not this
On
one, the
our
other
form,
one.
we're
The
doing
other
those
one.
scales, yeah.
Okay,
Can I,
yes.
are you going to set a date?
Oh, would you like to set a date for the,
Yeah, we
for your
need to.
evaluation
Yeah.
now? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah, that's what's on the thingy
Yes.
here.
Well, we hadn't gone through the committees yet.
Oh. Oh, right, we're still on personnel.
We're still on Personnel Committee,
Mhm.
but we can set a date right now,
You're talking about it, you might as well.
okay?
Calendar.
You have to allow time.
So for us, we want at least 2 weeks out, because the staff, we want to get the responses back from the staff first.
Well, let's work back from our meeting, our March meeting,
Leaves us the week of March 11th, really.
Our March meeting is
19th.
19th.
Yeah, because the next meeting is. So but I think
Do
we're
we have
looking at
just one meeting or two?
one.
So we complete the eval and meet with the eval all at the same time?
That's what's typically,
Yeah.
way it's typically.
Okay.
Well, usually what we've done in the past is we have the forms filled out, we go in, we sit down,
I
usually
was
it
just
takes
trying to
about
remember
half
if it
hour,
was one or
so.
two dates, that's all I
Yeah,
was trying to
and then we
remember
have one
from last
person
year.
compile the responses on one
Okay.
form, and then we go over it with Yvette.
So I think we're looking at the week of March 11th, 11 through 15.
Throwing out dates.
So March when?
I
11
think we're
through the
looking at the
15th.
week of March 11 through 15, Monday through Friday.
Is there a program that week that you need to be at, that?
There is.
Oh, that's usually the first thing that kind of.
Thank you for remembering,
You're
because
welcome.
I didn't know. I am at the book group on the 12th. However, you could be meeting at 7. This thing goes till 8:30, 8:45, depending on, I mean, it depends on when you want to meet, but, yeah, maybe that's too late. Yes, Tuesday I have something. Wednesday is the deliberative session, so,
The 13th
yes,
is the
At
deliberative
7?
session.
yeah, so that's out, or at least that time is out.
How's Monday, the 11th?
Monday's game night at my house. But I can
Thursday, the 14th.
miss game night,
No.
especially if they're playing D&D. Thursday's
So
fine.
somebody called you on.
Thursday, the 14th, does that work for everyone?
14th? Yeah.
Thursday, the
We're
14th,
saying Thursday the 14th.
that works for everyone?
Looks
The
good,
Ides
yeah.
of March.
That's the 15th.
Oh, you're right.
I'm reading Julius Caesar.
Ah.
So
I'm
Thursday,
reading
March 14th.
1984.
I know you were.
I would think we'd want to meet earlier in the evening than later.
Yes.
For the 14th?
The 14th is a
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm thinking 6 o'clock.
Okay,
I can do
Does
that.
that work for everyone?
yeah, I could be there.
Okay, yeah, can you do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I could do that.
6?
And that will be at the library.
6 p.m.
So that's us meet at 6 and then
14,
And then it's
6 p.m.
7 or 7:30, we'll meet with Yvette.
okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'll be at the radio until, I won't even be back in town until 6:30.
We'll meet
That
in
gives
your
us
office?
plenty
Meet
of
in my
time.
office, I'll book it,
Okay.
and then I'll hang out. You tell me when you want me.
Great.
Okay, sounds like a
All
plan.
right, so that is done.
So I'm sorry, do you want it booked for 6 to 7, 6 to 7:30, 6 to 8? For just you.
I thought we were meeting in your office.
You are,
Yeah,
but
But
I'm
we
gonna
meet,
do
and then we
2.
pull her in.
Yeah.
After.
Oh, well, I think we need at least an hour, hour and a half to talk among ourselves. Don't you?
6 to 7:30 if we're done
So I would
early,
say
we
7 or 7:30.
see if you're there.
It's okay to be a little fluid there.
Let's do 7:30.
7:30.
With this group,
Excuse
well,
me.
we're chatty. 7:30.
7:30.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's gonna go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I have heard in the past, it isn't everyone that sits with the director. We're
No.
choosing for all of us to sit with.
Can
the
I,
director.
I can address that. So, that, it was recommended to me by the previous director, because it was her practice, as I understand from her, to have all of the trustees present.
Okay.
Obviously, if you have something, urgent, you can't be there, then you're not there, but, that was her practice.
Any more questions about that?
March 14th.
Okay.
6
Building
o'clock.
Maintenance Committee, I don't think there's anything on that. Investment Committee,
Yes.
Janet, on the donation.
So I just handed out a piece of paper. Um, At our last meeting, we talked about adding a line to our guidelines about donation requests.
Yes,
It was in the minutes.
yes, it was in the minutes, but right now.
Would you like me to read it?
No, I can read it.
Okay.
And this is what Laura and I talked about to add to our guidelines about donations, or no, donation requests.
Donations to outside groups, not
Yeah.
donations to us.
No, not donations to us.
Right, right.
Donations
the
from
us.
outside, requests from
Right, right,
outside
right.
groups.
So donation requests are to be directed to the LBUT for consideration rather than to the library. The library is a nonprofit entity and is not in a position to submit donations. It is at the discretion of the library trustees to make donations to nonprofit or for-profit entities. The donation must be for a specific purpose whose intent has a positive impact in the community and relates to the mission of the library. Cash will not be provided for donations, rather submitted with a check from the LBOT. Yes.
There's something not clear here. It is, donation requests are to be directed to the Board of Trustees rather than to the library. Yes, okay.
You could say library staff or library director, or, I mean, library is a building,
Right. Okay.
Library staff, I would
yeah.
say.
whatever.
Okay?
It is at the at the discretion of the library trustees to make donations to nonprofit or for-profit entities. The donation must be for a specific purpose whose intent has a positive impact on the community and relates to the mission of the library. I think reading it a second time clarified it, because now I can't remember what was confusing.
Staff.
Maybe it
was
was
the building.
Yeah, maybe it was the building, yeah.
Can I just ask, is this different than, we had a donation discussion last month?
It is, that's exactly
This
what it's
is why
about.
we have this statement,
Okay.
because we talked about it and we didn't have any guideline about that. So what we're saying is, this is a guideline we'd like to add to the document, guidelines for financial management of the library, as a guideline for the trustees to use about donations. That's what we're asking here.
So could somebody just give me a concrete example of what that might be?
Well, the one we had last month was the robotic team had some kind of auction or something, and they were looking for like a gift basket or something from the library for them to raffle off.
And
was
so
one of
that
the
became
requests.
a
That's a
was the ask.
donation.
trustee.
Yeah, that
as
was
opposed
the
to a
ask to us.
library donation.
Right.
Okay, all right, that's, I was trying to.
Well, just to finish off that thought, it's because if the library paid for the donation, it would be coming out of the municipal budget, which is not appropriate.
I understood that part. I just like, I got, what I had in my mind was a book. So it would be, I don't know, a group wants to study how do I form my own business. And so I had this vision in my head of, okay, we would purchase this and give that to the group because it's like a service from the library. And I don't think that's what
No,
that
that's
was
not what this is
intended by
talking
this, so
about.
that's why I just wanted the clarification.
That would probably be, if the library was providing books for a purpose, that would be like a program, I guess,
Well,
if that
we-
was the case. even
We
if they
have,
did-
in the collection development policy, that whole area of policies, there are guidelines already. There's a policy ready for donations of things to the collection,
Right.
so that's already taken care of.
That's coming in though, right? Versus going out.
Yeah, that's coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, can you donate a raffle basket to my fundraiser?
Mhm.
That's,
Yeah.
that's usually the question is,
Mhm.
can you donate a raffle basket?
Any other discussion about this?
This very last sentence, I'm still kind of hung up on that. The cash will not be provided for donations, rather submitted with a check from the Library Board of Trustees. What do you mean by that?
Submitted by, just writing a check.
So we,
If we would write a check, or we could say, I
In other words,
suppose
we
if we're
won't hand
donating a
someone cash, we're
basket,
going to hand them
you
a
know,
check for
or
whatever it is that.
cash will not be provided for donations. We could leave off the end of the sentence if that's confusing.
Well, how else
But then
would
you
we
could argue
give-
that a check is cash.
yeah, that's
you
what's
can.
throwing me off.
Oh, gotcha.
That's exactly what's throwing me off with this.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
We can take the whole thing off.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
take it off.
I think that that's
I would cut that line out.
good.
Okay.
Gone.
So we add the word staff after the word library in the first sentence, and we take out the last sentence.
Perfect.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, here's my other. Because it just, sometimes that you've come to us and
Yeah.
said, you know, basketball group approached us. So then it's like you're directing that request to us?
Well, it depends
Or-
on that one was an ad
Okay,
in
okay, yeah, okay.
their book. And when we discussed it, it was the first time it was asked. And so when we discussed it, I think you were recommending it comes out of publicity. You know, we have a advertising line in the municipal budget, and it would reach teenagers and families that may or may not come to the library, probably don't come to the library, and then that's a great opportunity and a good use of funds. So now I have some guidelines of, well, if we get that again from the basketball teams, then I would know. Well, and I might even bring it and say, hey, do you want to do it this year? I mean, I'll ask someone. I don't usually.
But potentially somebody could come in to you and say,
They
we would
do.
like da-da-da-da-da, and
Yeah.
then
I-
in terms of the requests are made to us, but it could be through Yvette.
Sure.
Or it's
And
always through you, or
um,
could
in
be any
the-
of us.
They're going to go to her first.
Okay,
It-
all right.
it would come to me, but
Mhm.
then, and I think if you guys get asked, you should still direct it to me
Mhm.
because that's still
Okay. Mm-hmm.
how you operate. But it's, I can't expend trustee funds. And I don't know if you want to donate a raffle basket to the Canine Magic Show. In the past, we've done that. Not every year. It just depends on what you want to do.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think in the practical sense, usually people walk into the library and say, hey, can I talk to the director? Or I'll get a note from someone that they handed to another staff person, and then it eventually gets to you guys.
Yeah.
So that's just a practical thing because they know where we are.
Well, that's what I was thinking, they're more
Exactly, yeah.
likely to go
Pretty much, yeah.
to the library itself, and then it gets funneled down to
A-
us or
and-
funneled up.
Right.
The basketball example you brought up, though, that to me would be advertising
Yeah,
versus a
exactly,
donation. but
which is
yeah,
what the conversation was.
Not to muddy the
And
water here, but
Right, but the way we generate that donation is through cash. So
yeah. So,
it should be at the discretion of the trustees, that's what it says.
so I'll make the motion to accept this with the corrections we discussed.
I'll second. All in favor? Okay. Guideline is added.
Excuse me.
Okay. Well, we've already done our new business. Next thing is really the treasurer's report.
Yes. Okay, so if you look at the balance sheet, as of January
look at it
31,
Which one was it? we're
balance
looking at?
sheet, the balance sheet,
That's the very last one.
Ever since you talked me through it, whenever I print out the balance sheet, I circle that
There you go.
beginning and end, try and figure it out.
This one. There we go, this one.
The teeny, yours is bigger than mine, but that's okay. I'm not really, it's fine. This is a much better use of paper.
okay. So for the month of January, Our beginning balance of fines was $11,722.38.
Oh, mine cut off. That's why. Mine cut off.
Maybe
I
I'll let
did the
you
last column.
die.
And the ending balance for fines was $13,406.21.
Yep.
With special, just a couple lines down.
Yep.
The beginning balance was $11,541.52. And it ended with $14,473. I want to highlight that there was a deposit of $2,736.21. That was our town trust funds. That, just as a reminder, that also starts now that we will be getting trust fund money in January. Where that will be our cycle now.
Okay.
And then like the other ones are just more concrete information, like where the money went per each account, and then the running, the last 3 months. That's it. Questions? Okay. Actually, I have one comment. If any of the other forms aren't helpful to you, I don't have to send them. I mean, if you look at them,
Well, I mean, the difference, like the one that has like the 3 months,
yeah.
I suppose if you got that, you're gonna have to have that every time.
Yep.
Are you saying like eliminate?
I'm just saying, the thing is, the balance sheet has the balance of the month, and then the profit and loss by month, I do the last 3 months, just to show you how things have a sliding window, essentially, of what's been going on through those accounts. And then the other one that's a detailed, just shows you, like, the deposit was book sale, or it was a donation, or it was the trust, but it's more specific.
Yeah, I mean, I like both, but.
Okay, it's not
That's me.
an issue, I was just asking. I look at all of it. So,
I think it's very nicely done.
I wish I need to print them bigger. I need to find out how to
Yeah,
print
it
them
would
bigger.
help.
I know.
Well, don't ask me, mine printed so big it went off the edge of the paper and I lost my last column.
That's too big.
Anything else on the treasurer's report?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Should have done.
Okay, then we go to our operating budget, the general ledger. Oh, that's the building.
There it is.
I have one question about the general ledger. Oh, what happened?
Okay.
Under advertising, there's the $704.01, and it was to Coast. What is
Those are
that?
pencils.
Oh.
They're the, I don't know, they change color in your hand, and Emily likes to give them away when she's out. So that's,
Thank you.
they're very popular, we ran out, so hopefully it lasts us a
Nice.
couple years.
Now,
That's fun.
now where was that?
Under advertising.
It's, first page,
4,
1, 2,
5,
3,
6,
4.
7 up from the bottom.
Oh,
7 up.
oh, there we are.
That's 5 on mine.
Oh, there it
1, 2,
is.
3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm looking at that.
Any other comments on the general ledger?
I see.
No?
I got nothing.
Everybody's all set? Okay. We can move on. Any comments on the monthly invoices? Get a
That's
copy
kind
of.
of the same thing.
Well, these are the detail, I'm sorry, the detail,
Yeah.
the detail of the monthly invoices. This is the summary, the ledger's the summary, this is the detail. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. And now we move on to the director's report.
Okay, so we have two gifts that I'm asking you to accept. Emily received a donation of a picture book called The Squirrel Manifesto by Rick and Jean Edelman, donated by John Bartlett, and also a picture book called Little Squirrel, Big Dreams by April Leal, donated by Karen Sutphin. So coincidentally, two squirrel picture books, which she would like to add to her collection.
Okay.
So we're motioning to accept two different books?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make the motion to accept the two books.
Second? Oh, go ahead. Those are accepted.
We have to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
You voted yes? Yeah.
Yes, I voted yes.
Got it.
Okay. And then, we've been interviewing for two different circulation positions. The top candidates were sent a conditional letter of employment pending a clean background check. We received the background checks back, so they are good to go.
How long are those taking now?
They were different. One was like 3 weeks, one was 2 weeks. So, we're trying to submit them as quickly as possible.
Of course, yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay.
So we've hired Emily McGowan as the part-time adult services / circulation page, and also Dina Metvier as the part-time circulation aide.
So we have to accept those. Can we make a motion to accept both at the same time? Or would they be separate motions?
Go for it.
Oh, to accept the personnel.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Both
All
at
right,
once.
so I
We have to accept them, yes.
motion, vote to accept Emily McGowan as part-time adult services circulation page and Dina Metvier, part-time circulation aide.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay.
Okay, I don't know if you have any questions about anything else on this?
I had a question about the grant.
Yeah.
Working on a digital preservation
Yep.
grant.
Yes.
Is that, what is that exactly?
That would
Oh,
be, Brendan and I have been talking for a while about moving forward to digitize the newspapers that are in periodical storage. He's very keen on it, so he's moving ahead with a grant, and I'm helping him with that.
And that would mean if you did that, would you actually toss the paper?
Oh, God, no. No. This would just we'd be able to provide them in a digital form for patrons
Rather
to
than-
see. Well, right now, they're just in storage and nobody looks at them.
Yeah,
So at least it's, if we can get them,
more available,
exactly.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
but it's an expensive process,
okay.
so we're moving forward. We'll see what happens.
Mhm. Didn't we used to, on the building list, didn't we used to have the capital improvement projects on here?
No.
No? Okay, I thought we did for some reason.
No, these are
For the
Jared's.
related to the building, I mean. No?
I don't
Okay,
think
I
so.
They
thought we
got
did.
moved now, because there's many months ago, or more than a year ago probably, they were on that, but then they got turned into long-term, short-term.
Mm-hmm.
And so we only see the short-term ones now. The long-term, the capitals just, because they just stay there.
They just sit there, okay. Okay, that's fine.
Is there anything that you want to highlight? Like, I thought it was nice to see the story times are going up to 6 a week. That's pretty exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting. Yeah, we have a lot of kids who are coming, and they're not registration. You don't have to register for any of our story times. You just show up when you're able to, and we had to add additional story times because they were full. Like, they were overfull, I think.
Right.
You know,
That's
which
great.
it's great, but it agitates children and parents
Oh.
to have too many. You know, if there's too many babies in a room,
Yeah, that's true.
everyone gets a little nervous. So I
Yeah.
said, well, just you can run parallel ones. You can add an extra one. What do you need to do?
Yeah,
Um,
well, it's glad they're popular.
it's great.
Wanted to
It's
ask
great.
about the lamination machine. How big can that?
It was fixed today. Yay! Yay! How big?
How big can it laminate?
Probably an average size poster. You know, I mean, I don't have those. I mean, because it's like this big, so it's, you know, it can
okay.
laminate.
So it can go fairly large.
Yes, it can. And we've had other town departments call us up and say, can I send someone over to laminate? And we say, yeah. But the parts came today and it was fixed. So that's a new update.
good,
we're
very
happy
good.
about. We can move on laminating the rest of these posters and hang them up. We will have, I found out today, we're going to have some art. I think it's from the high school. Will be hanging in the lower hallway. So we're going to move the posters. Right now the posters are in the hallway. We're going to
Yeah.
move them so that we can have the youth art come in
Good.
like, it might be next week.
Okay.
Um,
So the weeding is all complete in children's nonfiction, or youth nonfiction.
mhm.
Yay. Okay. And how are all the weeds in general going?
Really good. I had asked Brittany to put everyone on a schedule, and she's just keeping up with it. So it's good.
Nice. Good.
Maybe I'll highlight One Book, One Town. This is the townwide read, 1984 by George Orwell. I don't know if any of you have read it. Have you read it?
Yes.
Long time ago.
Good
Long
book.
time ago?
It's a very good book.
I'd never read it. I thought I had, but I didn't.
Oh, wow.
So I just finished it this weekend, and I love it. I loved
Okay,
it.
Great book.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really good.
Yeah. So
Book Club
the
is discussing it this week.
I know you guys are discussing it tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And then next week we have a professor from St. Anselm's coming to talk about George Orwell and his life and how it influenced the book. So I'm signing up for that one because I want to go to that.
I wanted to make that, but I can't.
great.
What?
I wanted to make that one, but I can't.
You can make it?
Do we video those?
No, no, that's no. The speakers, you know, that's their
Yeah, like their
intellectual property.
yeah,
So
okay.
no.
Okay, so anything else on the director's report? Anybody have any more comments? No? Okay.
Great.
The other thing we wanted to do this evening was take a little time and talk about the Stivler Space Study. I think, Yvette, do you think we need to review a little bit of what the meeting we talked about with the Development Fund and the Friends about this? Would you,
Yep.
please?
Well, we're
Thank you.
the
Sorry, I didn't bring it.
We
Yeah,
had a meeting,
That's okay.
when did we have that meeting?
It was a month ago. We had a joint meeting with the chair and treasurer, or president and treasurer,
Break it
depending on
out
what
for
the
myself.
title was, of the Trustees, Friends, and Development Fund Committee. The Friends and Development Fund members viewed Janella McDonald's presentation that she had presented to you, because that was a recorded meeting, so they were able to sit in this joint meeting and view it, and then start to discuss that project. And if I remember right, and you guys were both there, you can, correct me, but Bill Cummings, who's in the Development Fund, and Claire Muse, who's the president of the Friends, said they would be very interested in exploring a community center in town with a library as part of that. And Bill was going to Canada for some family things, and said he would look at a community center with a library that he has talked about, at least to me, in the past, and bring back his impressions and hopefully some pictures. And tomorrow is the next meeting. We'll get an update on that. Tomorrow we're also supposed to review the visioning exercise that the Strategic Planning Committee did back in 2013 And that information is on the website, but I have hard copies for tomorrow if we want to talk about that, just to see, you know, what was the big picture that the committee talked about in terms of things that Merrimack might be missing, that they'd like to see in Merrimack. You know, you were on that committee, Rick, and you remember. There was like a theater, you know, a lot of things about culture and nightlife, and there's nowhere to have things.
Sports arena came
I went
up.
to a meeting with
Sports
you.
arena came up, yeah, I mean, at this meeting
Weren't
last
they-
week, you were there, you were talking about a hockey rink, so
You had me come to a meeting with you.
Getting to be a very big
This is
building.
where I'm getting confused with these different groups.
Well, the idea is just, when you
Might be
talked about the
different.
community, it's like there's no place to go. There's no place to be. So, as well as meeting rooms, that was the bigger thing
Yeah.
too.
yeah, so, I was a little surprised at the conversation that it went that way. That's okay, you know.
So it morphed from
It did.
library to community center to what are the needs of a community? What do we want in a community? What does Merrimack want? What does Merrimack need? So a lot of questions.
Right, and I think, you know, they were hearing from the presentation also that with the kind of revamping of the current space, which is what Janella was presenting to you, we're still short 5,000 or 6,000 feet, and they were really, I didn't think they were very pleased with that. I think they were as frustrated as the rest of us were with, is it worth it? You know, would this renovation be worth it? And I think we were all in agreement, we need to start looking at money. What does it cost? Is it, and then, you know.
So it's kind of like, where do we go from here? We can continue to explore, I suppose, the idea of a combination library, community center type building, but then what does that look like? So that's almost another study. And we can just look at what we have now and follow the modifications as suggested by Stibler, the way they suggested it. We could do a modified version of that. Or we just leave things the way they are.
But what we would need, I mean, from the presentation, the presentation kind of showed what everybody thought would be the best use of the space we have in a very novel way. But we don't even know if any of that is possible, and we don't know what it would cost. And all of that leads to choosing an architect or an engine, and the architect chooses an engineer, or we choose an engineer. And, I mean, the thing is that if we're gonna follow up the Stibler space study, then the next thing to do is spend some money and find out if you can really do it. Or if we don't wanna do it, then we have to get together and talk about what we do wanna do.
Do we even know how much, if we take the next step is getting the architect to say, this is possible, and here's how much it's gonna cost. How much is just the architect alone gonna cost us? Do we know yet?
I think you have to keep in mind that hypothetically, if you've got somebody to design the modifications that were suggested, we're not just looking at a remodeling, so to speak.
Right.
We have an old building, and we would probably need to update electrical, plumbing, HVAC.
Well, yeah, because the bathrooms would be
heating.
moving
You-
upstairs, so there's gonna be plumbing and, yeah,
There
all
would-
that.
There's a lot of internal, we don't know about the internal
right.
structure. And when you upgrade, they tend to want to upgrade the infrastructure at the same time, which means the electric, the plumbing, et cetera.
Door. Okay.
So it's not just moving a few walls around and moving the furniture around.
But regarding an architect, regardless of which way the board ends up going, so if we decide to try to go down the space study route, or say, okay, space study proved that, the best we're gonna do is the best we're gonna do, and we still don't meet everything, the goals that we wanna meet with the building we have. So whether we go with the space study plan, or say we should try again for a new building, either way, it's gonna be an architect at that point, giving one of the two options.
Well,
So the question is, that we need to find out is, how much is an architect gonna be for one of the two options, regardless of which one is going? So that's the next
And
question.
the architect's going to have to get engineers and then.
Does-
Well, until the architect puts together the plan, once we implement the plan is when you'd have the engineers and all that at that point.
But sometimes they're all part of the same firm.
Yeah, if you go with a firm.
Through the state, through GMILs, through, are there firms
Yeah.
that, I figured you're associated with?
Didn't Janella tell us?
Yeah.
Well, she
that she
is,
could
but she knows
recommend
people,
or-
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
there's.
And
at
that
the
convention
conference-
in May.
I know, they're,
there's
they're there all the
companies there
time.
who
Yeah.
exhibit that only do libraries.
Right.
But the other
Charge
part
of
of the
trust.
discussion was
it's
a new
big.
building, just a library, or a combination with a community center. So that's the other side of the conversation.
Hmm.
And I don't know if we have clarity yet on either side.
Did anybody mention MYA? Because that became, that morphed into a combination town-community thing that is kind of
That'd be
unique.
something you'd have to have a discussion with the town council on and get their buy-off. If, to go down that route, you'd want their buy-off on it.
For,
For like the community center, MYA, all in one kind of.
Library thing. I
of
don't.
course, yeah.
I don't know if that's flexible enough, though. Libraries require some flexibility nowadays. If you try and put too many things all in one building, you end up where we are.
Well, we still need our, whatever it is, 18,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And then the flex space is meeting rooms, but we still need library space.
Yeah.
So,
The one thing that's clear is we're not able to meet all the goals, or all the, not, goals isn't the right
Needs.
word, the needs. We're not able to meet all the needs of the community right now with what we have.
Right.
So, there's requests that are coming in that we can't meet.
So we still go back to.
Yeah. And long
Modifying
term,
what we
I
have.
mean, it's not gonna be, I've got one more meeting after this one, so it's not my decision anymore, but I think the next step would be maybe to have a conversation with the town council, and see if they wanna buy in on like a bigger project, and then maybe go forward with an architect at that point.
there's an opening on the town council. There are 2 seats that are
I'm-
opening.
I'm
And
Gonna
I'm just
relax
telling
for
you.
a while. No stress for a little while, no meetings.
it
I'll
would
be
be a
going to the
nice
friends,
transition
so
for
I'll
you.
be participating with the friends still, but, yeah, I'm taking
Okay.
some time and relaxing.
How's that tuna feel? You feeling good?
Good stuff,
All
oh,
right.
yeah. Yeah. Hallucinating a
Glowing.
little bit,
You're
yeah.
not glowing.
I see colors around you, I can see your aura.
Is it good?
It's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Gas station tuna, works every time.
So,
So that was just your reporting on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Meeting, okay.
so if I could just throw out, we are having another meeting tomorrow.
And
We're
what is
gonna-
it called again?
There's no real name. It's
But
the-
it's not
It's
this-
the joint board officers meeting. So it's not quite the library
It's not
building
that
and
thing.
development
Okay.
and marketing
All right,
committee yet.
okay.
No, we're Kevin.
It's not. We called it Kevin, yeah. I said, we can call it Kevin.
She threw it out and was like,
I
done.
threw it out.
Laura
Jen
goes as
said,
a
okay.
representative of the
Kevin?
Board of Trustees,
Kevin.
somebody comes
Because
from
it was
Friends
the
Gave it a
Board.
name.
joint
Yvette comes. and
board
other boards
officers
come.
meeting, or Kevin. You can call
Or
it
Kevin.
Okay.
Okay.
if any of you are interested in coming, I'm sure you could come if you would like.
Well, except
Yeah, I
that
thought
none
that
of
we
the,
weren't doing that.
none of the other members
Yeah.
of the boards
Just
are
one
coming.
person was
Yeah.
going as
It's
a,
2, but,
well,
So,
Yeah,
so
so-
there's another one tomorrow.
there's another one tomorrow. We're gonna hear back from Bill. We're gonna look at the strategic plan, brainstorming stuff. But I kind of agree with Rick, there, at some point, we're still gonna have to look at money.
Right.
What is this gonna cost? So that you can compare
Mm-hmm.
apples and apples instead of like, well, I don't know what it costs, 'cause we don't know what it
Yeah.
costs. And we don't know
Also-
if it's possible, Karen. I mean, you're exactly right. We don't know. We just. it's a
Figuring
guess.
out what we want. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we know what we want yet. Do we
Well,
want,
Closer.
Well,
that.
yes.
I think we know what we need.
we know what we need, but do we know
And
what
that's
we?
really important. I haven't seen that on paper, what we need and why we need it. That's really important.
That's the plan. But that
Yeah.
is what the plan is. It's the staff telling her what we need, and she fit it all in the building, and then there's stuff she couldn't fit in the building. So there's stuff we need, and there's stuff that we still need that doesn't fit in this building. So then,
And that should all be in black and white, so you can actually see it. As just a citizen, I would want to see that.
yeah, but then it's, what's the solution to get what we need? Is it to be part of a larger project? I don't know, who do we partner with? Or is it go with Stibler and add on 6,000 feet somewhere? Yeah, maybe. Or scrap everything and go with a new building that's a different design than the previous design that
We need an architect for that.
didn't, yeah,
Right.
exactly, it still goes
Right, now
back to
it goes
Rick.
back to the architect.
I mean, at whatever point you want me to ask for a recommendation from either, several J-Milks libraries are working with architects now for renovations.
Are they
We can
doing,
get quotes. We can get quotes from a couple of people.
are the other libraries doing,
From a couple of people.
Yeah, find out how much the architect's
just-
gonna
What would it
cost.
cost to come talk to us?
Exactly,
I can do that.
yeah.
Because I can ask,
Because I mean, if we're talking like
Janella.
$100,000 versus $20,000, or, I don't know, I don't even know.
Depending on the architecture firm, they might be able to have like the initial conversation to kind of answer some of the questions, at least to get the ball rolling.
Exactly. They
You
could
know,
also
for nothing,
direct us.
just to get just to get the ball rolling. They might be willing to just
Because
have a
we
meeting.
don't know what we don't know.
exactly, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And maybe it will help us decide what we want.
okay, so I'm asking, I mean, are there 3 different things you want, or just 2 so far? What would it cost to come talk to us, I think is really the thing. And we want to talk about the Stibler drawing, possible new building, or what a community center would look like with our space.
Well, those seem to be the options on the table, or just modifying what we have, modifying what we have.
Yeah, well,
Do
that's the
Stay with
Stibler.
our building
Right.
and either modifying according exactly to their plan or a modification of that plan. I mean, there's several options out there, and I think that's, we know what we need, but we don't know what we want.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the quandary we all are finding ourselves in a little bit. What really are our next steps? So gathering more information will help us move along. So
can do that.
thank you, Janet.
Okay.
Any other,
Someone just answered, I have a note on my copy of the plans. What's a feasibility study?
Is it possible?
Okay. And that doesn't come before doing all this, or that, getting an architect
that's
is
what
part
it
of that?
is. That's part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments about the study? No? Okay. The eyeball is watching the time.
Sorry.
I don't know what that was.
That's my eyeball.
Did you have tuna also?
No, not
Okay.
anything quite so exotic, actually.
I had shrimp.
Actually, don't really have anything to say about trustee goals. We're completing our evaluation, which was one of the goals, too. Yes?
I have a comment. It starts, I know it's on the calendar, but we can talk to any of our friends or tell people that there will be a spot open, so if they want to be on the board.
Yes.
Yes, well, that
I
comes
know it's that
down on
down,
the
but
calendar when the,
part of our goals is to have a full board.
Yes. And hopefully an alternative or two.
Yes, exactly.
an alternative.
Or an alternate.
alternate.
An alternate. I'm
In
tired.
an alternate universe.
That's been our problem. There's an alternate universe here with us. And it keeps going dimension to
Yeah,
dimension.
there you go.
Okay.
So
So we've,
can I back up? This, okay, Yvette's gonna check on what would it cost to have an architect talk with us. Are we done discussing this? Or are we gonna discuss
Yes.
this too?
do you have anything else you would like?
No,
to-
I just wanted to be clear that we were done discussing
We're
it.
done with that topic.
Because you had said maybe it would take 30 minutes to talk about it, so I just wanted to make sure that if it was gonna take 30 minutes, we didn't need it, great.
Okay, that's wonderful.
I would recommend keeping it on the agenda, though, so it doesn't
Mhm.
get
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
forgotten or whatever, lost.
Okay, so for the next meeting, perhaps, Yvette will have some information about architects, right? Okay. Policy review. We have a policy review here on the e-commerce privacy and refund policy.
Okay, so I sent you two policies. E-commerce privacy and refund policies. There are no changes to this because this is language that is used across GMILCs with every library. So it's just,
You mean it's the same policy in every library? The same words?
exactly.
Oh, I had
It
edits.
has to be.
It's done, it has to be, it
Has
does
to be
have to
done
be,
this
yeah.
way.
So I just had noticed when I was reviewing for this year that we hadn't, or you all haven't looked at this since 2014, so there are no changes.
Which one are you talking about right now?
I'm talking about e-commerce.
Oh, e-commerce.
Privacy and refund policies.
Well, I had a comment about that one.
Well, you can't change it.
We can't make any changes.
Can't make any changes to this one?
That's
No.
right. All libraries
It
use
is
the
what
same
it
one.
is.
It is identical across the board, and I checked other
Oh.
libraries' websites to double check and make sure with my own eyes. And I also emailed the directors, and I emailed Marilyn and said, I'm just, again, triple checking.
Okay,
And they said, nope, it is what it is. I
it is
said,
what it is, okay.
fair enough.
Done?
Done.
So you can accept that? It's just
Oh, we have to vote to
I
accept.
make a motion to accept the policy as is.
Second?
With no
all in
changes.
favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye, okay, passed, done.
Yay, thank you. And then the other one is I'm letting you know that this doesn't exist anymore.
Thank
So
goodness.
I read it, I'm like, what
anymore.
is this?
it was a
make heads or
thing
tails of it.
I
back.
didn't even print it.
Which,
This one.
This is the community
No longer, we
profiles
don't-
policy.
Yeah.
It was something that the consortium used to have and no longer offers this service. So we should not have a policy on our website. It is
So, no
defunct.
longer.
okay, so motion to eliminate the policy.
I accept.
Awesome.
You second.
All in,
I
Did you
accept-
second
yes,
it?
Did you
I
second or accept?
I second.
You
all in
second.
favor?
Okay.
Okay,
Gone.
raise your hand.
Policy
you.
is
Okay.
gone.
Rick.
Those were
Are
the
there any more
easiest ones we've
policies
ever
you
done.
I like it when it goes easy like that.
Are there any more
Two.
policies? Those are all I had.
That's everything today.
That's everything today.
Yep.
Okay.
Next month, you will see the collection development
Okay.
policy and any policies that are connected with it.
Is
What
there,
was the title, I'm sorry, of that policy that we just eliminated?
right here.
Community profiles policy.
Oh, there it is.
Anything anybody else want to bring up at this moment?
Well, I have just a follow-up to the policies question. So you said next month, it's, which one again?
You're gonna say collection development.
So I started to wonder if I really should know where to look or have copies of the original ones.
Okay, I can tell you. So, this is a printout of the page on the website.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what I was.
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
That's where everything is.
Okay.
So I go through and I make sure all the policies that are uploaded to the website are up to date. And then when you make a change or correct something tomorrow, I'll go in and take the old one off and put the new one up. And then I work off the list of what's.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to educate myself. I'm like, well, I probably should go back to where it was originally written and
Yeah.
read it before I edit it.
No, it's, what you have printed out is what's posted on the website
Okay.
right now. But tomorrow or the next day
It'll
it
be
won't.
changed.
It'll be up.
The investment policy is the only one that we're required by the RSAs to review at least once a year. Even if we don't change it, we have to look at it and review it once a year.
Any other comments? No, okay. Our calendar, February 20th.
Are we
Tomorrow-
skipping ahead?
Here,
We have
just one more.
D.
I'm
Or,
sorry,
I
D, I didn't, there's no D, I have no D.
on your
The
agenda.
new,
Business?
this is the one you updated, the new one?
It's a different, she updated you up,
Oh,
there is an updated agenda there.
okay, well, I guess I didn't print out the right one. I didn't have all the information on the alternate procedure.
I have it.
You have it, good.
Yes. Okay, so I communicated with the town attorney, Carrie Ann Roman, and she said, this is what you do. So I already updated the website. So it's, what it says on your website now is, that you can have up to 3 alternates. If you're interested, this is reading, so it's the resident is reading.
Yep.
If you're interested in applying for one of these positions, please submit a letter of interest and qualifications to the town manager, and her email is included. Candidates will ultimately be appointed by the town council on the trustee's recommendation. So because it's the town council appointing, that's the procedures. It goes to the town manager, she collects them, she gets them to you, probably maybe she'll send them to me, send them to you. They get to you guys, you review them, make your selection, tell the town council, they will appoint that person. Simple.
Okay. So it's all up and running.
So that's going forward.
That's it.
Perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
So nobody can just walk in off the street.
Have to write a letter.
Have to write a letter
Yeah.
of
Answer an
intent,
ad in the
a letter of
newspaper.
intent. Yeah, the other question I had for her was, should we post the openings? And she said yes, she recommends that, and she gave me some wording for that. So we can.
'Cause that's
put,
how I did it. I saw it in the newspaper.
Right, so we
and
can
I
put a
called.
public notice in the paper. The only thing that I don't know from you is, you know, she recommended if you want a closing date to submit. Because on the
Closing
well, that's just part of the ad. It could be, or it's, you know, you have 3 alternates, it could be a just submit.
I think so, because there's no close date on that.
I would say if you're gonna put one up now, if you're gonna put an ad out now, have the date of the election be the closing date, so that way the new board, could be like the first item, you know, is to review anybody who submitted for a, well, not necessarily the first item, but one of the first items on the agenda is to review anybody who put in for an alternate.
Yeah, and you need to put a date, I think, just simply so that you have, so people will know that is some closure to it, otherwise they'll just won't do
Well,
it.
you can
They go-
submit to be an alternate, though, at any time.
Yeah,
It's not an elected post.
yeah, it's
That's
not like
true.
we're getting a
It's
lot of people
open.
knocking down the door.
It's open-ended.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if you were to submit whatever it is you need to submit.
basically a letter
a
saying
letter.
you're interested.
I'd like to do it.
Right, but, so the person does that, what's their expectation to hear from somebody
You'll hear from us.
within,
Well, the town manager,
go
it
through
depends
all
on
that.
how the town manager,
well,
How
after it
long
goes
it
through all
takes.
that, then somebody contacts them from
Yeah.
us.
Are those are on the website, on those steps that people take?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, because we've already done the steps. We just were missing the piece on how the town wanted us to handle it, the process for the town. And that was the last piece that needed to be added. So the alternate's open, it's not an elected position.
Right.
We do have, however, February 20th to March 1st is the filing period for town offices. We will have a vacancy on the board, so as Rick has served 2 terms
Terms,
as a
yeah.
trustee on the board, serving as chair part of that time, and as treasurer a good part of the time.
Yeah.
And so we will miss his presence here, but we encourage others in town who are interested to put their name in to become a trustee of the library. It's a wonderful experience. Okay. Tomorrow, we've mentioned we're having the joint boards meetings, which is the Friends, the Development Fund, and the trustees, the chair and the treasurer, to talk about what we were just talking about in terms of the future of the library. February 25th, we will be having our Friends meeting at 7 o'clock at the library. February 26th, there is a program, The Secret Life of Library Books. Excuse me, particularly databases? What?
Karen's hand went up.
Elections? I
Mhm.
just mentioned the election.
Is that all, what, when is the date?
Well, the election itself should be on here.
April 9th.
It's not,
The
oh, there
9th.
it is, down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
So I
sorry.
was just reading through the calendar.
Okay,
Okay, so
Sorry.
Yvette put all the dates in the calendar.
Filing is next week.
Yes.
What?
February,
Filing for openings is next week.
next week.
it's
Mhm.
February
It's on your
20th
agenda.
through March 1st. It starts tomorrow. Filing period opens tomorrow through March 1st to put your name on the ballot to run for office. February 26th, I just said, 7 PM, the library, The Secret Life of
It's
Library
updated.
Books. It's about databases.
When did it come
March
through?
13th, from 12 to 1, the Right to Know training webinar is being held. March 19th, 7 PM, Town Hall Memorial Room is our monthly trustees meeting. March 26th, 6:30 to 8:30, another Right to Know training at the Derry Municipal Center. It does have a cost of $35. And if the Development Fund decides to meet, that meeting will be announced at that time. Are there comments from the press, public, or any other board members at this time?
I had a question about the information about the right to know dates and trainings. Is that just a FYI, or is that we're all going to one of those, or?
Well, on the 13th, from 12 to 1, there's a video.
So you can choose to do it or not, we're not.
Yes, no, you're not obligated to.
Can I make a suggestion? Let me, so I'm gonna make a suggestion. I don't know, a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, the board had been asking, when is the next time Right to Know training is coming up? And I was able to get Nick LaValle from Merrimack TV to make a copy of a presentation from Matt Upton, who was the town attorney from 2008, and a PowerPoint printout, which I put in your drawer.
Yes.
Those are not in the drawer right now. They're going to be cataloged, and then they'll be available in the professional collection in my office. But that was, getting those items from Nick was before the NHMA, the New Hampshire Municipal Association, announced this training. So I think, since the board was asking, when's the next time, one of the town attorneys is going to do that presentation, here it is.
Well,
I would recommend going. I'm going to go, for sure.
and I just wanted to throw out there that
Are you talking about March 19th, Yvette?
No, the
Mhm.
20s.
I'm
26th.
going to the,
Oh, I meant the 26th, I'm
yes,
sorry.
the in-person one.
The in-person one, yeah.
Mhm. It's the same presenters as the webinar, but I'd rather
Yeah.
live.
So it just so happens I was looking at the library trustee newsletter from NHLTA, and they actually also have webinars
Mhm.
that cover all of those orientation type things, but one of them is Right to Know. So I kind of was feeling like, wow, there are a lot of places to get this information, and that, when you're oriented as a new trustee, you get that information, you go to a conference, you might re-get that information, but seems, at least to me, I'm liking that I have multiple chances to review that,
Mhm.
since it's so important.
Okay, any other comments from the press, public, or other board members at this time?
I would like to
Oh,
make another
oh, another
comment. So
comment.
I'm the
dear, we're
public or
full of
something?
comments.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Public or something.
Well, it doesn't say me, it says, anyway. So the Secret Life of Library Books, that is what we used to call How the Library Works. That's part of that series. So Brendan is going to be doing a presentation on the databases. He going to highlight the most popular databases. Ancestry.com is one of our most popular. Automate is a car. That's the one, actually.
My favorite one.
I love. He's going to highlight that one as well. He's going to talk about Novelist. I was very fortunate to see him in action. He did this presentation for the Chamber of Commerce for a Networking Before 9 event that we hosted at the library a couple of Fridays ago. And it's excellent. It's really excellent. I learned actually how to use Novelist, which I didn't know how to use Novelist. So, but I'm not on a public desk very often, so I was probably rusty. So I highly encourage you to come, because this is the series that you asked for. This is it.
It is.
And all of the department heads have really wonderful presentations.
Is there a date set
ready.
for that?
Yeah,
It's
26th.
the fourth Tuesday of
February
every
26th.
month, except I think August we're taking off.
Okay.
So, but he really does a good job. And you get to see a picture of his father's high school yearbook.
Okay.
They are spitting image. He is the spitting image of his father.
Huh. Okay.
That's the secret life.
It's really very good. I was very pleased with him. But it was very good. So I highly recommend it. Very entertaining. And it's hands-on. So you get to use the laptops.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah, but register so he knows you're coming.
okay.
And it's in the Lowell room.
Nice.
Any other comments from the press, public, or board members?
I have nothing more to say.
I do. Is anybody,
I have one more thing to say,
Oh, of course.
because I'm emailed to you. I'm so sorry. So we had a complaint.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
This came after everything. So, this is not signed, it's not signed. It's an anonymous complaint written on one of our calendars. So this says, the Merrimack Public Library is so noisy and unpleasant. I love the peace and quiet of the library, but at Merrimack it does not exist. The librarians are the worst. They never stop gabbing loudly enough to disturb everyone. The rest of the world is noisy and chaotic. Libraries are supposed to be peaceful. I would never want to spend time at this library. And this was left in the Dropbox, in the book drop, Saturday, February 9th. Wow.
It's not signed or anything, huh?
Nope, but, there are cameras. We've identified someone, maybe. But, to address these complaints, I did talk to the staff. This particular day that this person was, we think they were visiting, Jen was training the 2 new staff at CERC. You have to talk when you train the staff. I think the other thing that we know, and part of the discussion we've had in terms of needing a different space, needing a new building, needing a renovation, is, the layout of the floor. It's an open room and sound travels.
Yeah.
And I think the nature of libraries nowadays, it's not a quiet place. It's not a quiet place. This is not an academic library. It's a public library. It's a meeting place. And we encourage it to be a meeting place. So it's unfortunate that this is anonymous, because none of us can address this now. And we can't explain modern libraries are different,
Quite honestly,
Yeah.
the one thing that I've heard from a lot of people in the public
Mhm.
over the years with the Merrimack Library specifically is it's not the uptight shh. It's a fun place. And fun places have people talking, and it's someplace people enjoy, going. So it's kind of the opposite. The compliments that I've heard over the year are almost the opposite of what that
Yeah.
complaint is all about. Is,
Yeah.
we're not uptight.
I tend to hear that same thing. So, I don't know. They didn't stay long, and then
And
dropped an
based on the
anonymous
wording,
note.
it almost sounds like they're not from Merrimack.
I don't know.
But they're anonymous, so it's all speculation. But based on the wording, it doesn't sound like, somebody from Merrimack, the way it's worded.
I don't know.
That's my 2 cents.
Okay, any other
Want to let you know.
comments from the press,
Yes,
public?
I have a comment
I do
in
too.
response to that. I think that all ties in with all of what we're trying to do, which is create a space that can accommodate conversation, and a space that can accommodate, I need some privacy, or I need a quiet space. Because the libraries that I've liked best have both.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Any other comments?
I'm turning my mic off.
I, well.
I want to
I
adjourn
know.
at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I got
or
4
not
minutes.
9 o'clock
4 minutes is
Um,
right.
Is anybody interested in the right to know?
Yes.
In
I'm
the
going.
webinar? Or, I know you
I'm-
said that,
okay.
you're going. The webinar, but more specifically, the dairy one on the 28th.
That's Tuesday.
Well, we have, if,
That's
so are you
hard.
asking in case a group of people would like to go? Is that?
I'm just wondering, yes.
Okay. And then if a group of people were going and register, this is just what I was just wondering, do we pay out of the library or out of our trust fund?
That usually comes out of special.
Okay.
I mean, for trustees, for me, I have the
Third, 8:30.
education line or
I wouldn't go, I'm just
conference line.
wondering.
I only have one meeting.
Yeah, you're useless.
I've gone to it a few times over the years.
You know, Rick, when you're on the town council, you're gonna need to know, right to know.
I've gone to it a couple times, especially in my time in the budget committee. I actually sat in on the right to know meetings.
Okay,
many
do we have
times.
any other comments?
Yeah, I'm interested.
And you're gonna hate
So
me
is
because I
Janice.
have another one.
You have 2 minutes.
I wanted to know, you are the board liaison to the Friends, correct?
Right.
When you cease to be a board member.
In the first meeting after the election, you guys elect chair, treasurer,
And then we
and then
figure
you
that out.
go
Okay.
through and set who's gonna be liaisons to what.
Okay.
And you could switch up, you don't have to say liaison, you could switch people up,
Okay.
so it's you
I'm
guys to
done,
decide.
really, I promise.
Anything else?
Look at that.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? The meeting is officially adjourned at 8:58, 2 minutes early. There we go.